For all those Friends lovers out there, do you remember that episode where Phoebe and Rachel join a self-defense class and Ross claims that he knows a thing or two about self-defense? He teaches them about unagi, a state of total awareness. Only by achieving true unagi can you be prepared for any danger that may befall you. Now, the other characters make fun of Ross because unagi actually means freshwater eel in Japanese. And as someone with a Japanese background, I can validate and confirm this. So when Phoebe and Rachel hide behind Ross's curtains and scares him, Rachel mocks him by saying, "Aha, salmon skin roll." In the real world, have you ever been in that situation where you're walking around campus and you walk by a group of students speaking in a different language? Maybe they seemed like they were talking really fast, or maybe they seemed overexcited or even angry about a topic that doesn't even seem that dramatic. I also think that many of us have been in that situation where we had a prof or a teacher who had a foreign accent and we had a lot of trouble understanding what they were trying to communicate. So why do we have so much trouble communicating our thoughts, especially to those with different native backgrounds, not only when we're just plainly speaking in different languages, but even when we're speaking in the same language? Well, you see, without some form of language, we aren't able to communicate our highly complex inner thoughts to the outside world. Though human language is extremely sophisticated, this doesn't mean that there aren't any limitations in our ability to communicate with just our words. Understanding what a person is saying as they speak requires breaking down the speech stream. All languages are structured similarly in that they are made up of smaller units. Morphemes are the smallest unit of sound that contain meaning. So the word snowshoes has 3 morphemes: snow, shoe, and the plural s, each containing meaningful information on their own. Phonemes are the constituent sounds of morphemes, and the thing is, not all phonemes exist in every language. For example, in the English language, we have different phonemes for L and R, so English speakers have no trouble distinguishing between the L and R sounds. However, my parents who are Japanese immigrants can't actually discriminate between the two. This means that the words light and right sound exactly the same to them because these two sounds don't exist as separate phonemes in the Japanese language. What's interesting is that all humans are born with the ability to discriminate between all phonemes in every language. This is called the universal phoneme sensitivity in infants. However, by about a year old, we lose this ability because our environment doesn't require us to be sensitive to that many different sounds, only to the ones that we always hear. So because our sensitivity to non-native phonemes decreases as we age, we run into what's called the segmentation problem. We have a lot of difficulty separating foreign speech into individual words, so it's like you're reading a sentence with no spaces in between. And this partially explains why we perceive people speaking a foreign language to be talking really fast, and it also plays into our ability or inability to understand different accents. This year is my friend from Uganda who I've been mentoring for the past few months, and one of the biggest difficulties that we had at first was understanding each other because our accents were so unfamiliar and we didn't know how to properly discriminate between different phonemes. Now, on top of this segmentation problem, there's also evidence that the language that we speak influences the way that we think. The Whorf-Sapir hypothesis suggests that our native languages forces us, or at least guides our attention into certain models of thought. Take color perception differences between languages, for an example. In the English language, we have 2 different words that describe the colors that we see as green and blue. So in a study where English speakers were asked to categorize presented colors as either green or blue, English speakers had no trouble doing this. However, in the Barinmo language, there aren't 2 different words that describe these 2 colors that English speakers see as green and blue. Both of these colors are described by the color or by the word no. So in the same study where Barinmo speakers were asked to complete the same task, they actually couldn't tell between these 2 colors. This leads us to the idea of language relativity. Those who speak different languages inevitably think a little differently. We can see this in the real world where the difference between our languages makes it very easy to miscommunicate ideas because these ideas may not exist in the same way for people speaking different languages. I'm going to bring back my friend from Uganda back for a second here. So I got a good kick out of this picture that he sent me of their schoolyard because if you zoom up, the vehicle in the back says school truck. And the reason why I found this so funny was because we call it a school bus in North America. When we think about a truck, we tend to pull up our prototypes that look a little more like this or this. So language alone isn't sufficient in effectively communicating our thoughts. We use other cues that tend to be more universal, like body language, emotion, and tone, to help us communicate these ideas. So next time you get frustrated with a prof because you can't quite understand them, just give it a second thought or give yourself some extra time to get used to their accent. Or maybe study calculus a little extra harder because you actually just suck at math. Thank you.